And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel. And before we get started, I do want to let people know that we will be closing the Passover people to sign up after today, because we already reached the expected capacity for the room online we was going to use, so we already have to switch it over. So with that, we have to make sure that we can accommodate, online the people we need to. So if you miss the sign up, because what's going to happen after today, I'm gonna take it down. And the biggest problem that we have, especially within Israel, the biggest problem we have, people like to, days later, weeks later, they like to sit there and say that they missed it somehow and they just need to get in at this last minute. And that's something that we're not going to end up doing. So if you miss that, and you miss it today, that sign up, I'm not looking for an email, because I'm not going to address the email based on you not signing up. A lot of us like to procrastinate and wait to the last minute to sign up. And this we have to end, because we have too much of this that goes on. And two, the same as what we tell people with if you haven't had a chance, make sure that you can get that app to where you can get that, and make sure you can get a hold of many things that you need to as to coming forward, to where you can get a hold to a lot of our videos. You got a lot of different live news channels that's there, that you can also see the opposite side on how other countries and other places see America. So those are some of the things we have to look at. But what is at hand is this: we having a problem. We sit there, we have something in hand, we have something that was sown in us, but the main problem we have, we always looking at that, is there a better deal? And when there is a better deal, there is someone there to let's make that deal. There's someone there to make that deal with you. The game changer. The one, if the price is right, you will take that door. You'll take what's behind door number 2. Every time. Not sometime. Every time. See, some think they can give up. And some think they don't have to give up what they already have and still get what they want in door number 2. But rest assured, I want to make sure we're perfectly clear here on how the Bible works and how we're going to go into it. And once we get in there, you're going to see it working the same thing. Once you select that door number 2, it automatically gives up what you already had insurance on the first one. And we have made choices based on temporal things that is of this world, gambling off what was eternal for things that is temporal. That is our problem. And all we have to do is, if the price is right, we'll do it. If the price is right, we'll do it with no issues. We have 2 choices. Don't ever think people will tell you that you have 3. You have 2 choices in life. 2. That's it. One choice is obedient to God to keep the covenant. We're going to look at that one first and how that works, and what he's offering you. And then we're going to see the offering of the world. The only way we can do this. So what I'm going to do, we're going to invite you over. We're going to look at a couple of foundational things, but then we're going to learn a lot of stuff today, though, based on what's happening. But we're going to look over here at Exodus chapter 19, picking up at verse 5. At verse 5, he says something, but he makes sure this is clear to us as we can go through the scriptures. It says, now for that reason. So the reason I changed the words to what the actual working functional word is, because I want you to understand what therefore is. Because therefore, for that reason alone, based on what he did when you look up, how he buried us up on eagle wings and brought us up out of the land of bondage. We was under bondage in the mind and actually in the body. Once he brought us out of there and brought us up to himself, he's done these things. He heard our cry. Once he done all this, he did this. And then he said, for that reason alone, providing now ye obey my voice. Indeed, indeed. So now you have to do it in works. And then he connected some things to it. And keep my covenant. So now you have to keep the covenant. And the covenant is to obey his voice. That's the covenant. Obey my voice. That's the covenant. Ye should be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. And why? For all the earth is mine. Everything belongs to him. But he can give us eternal things, but we always want to break down and look at temporal things. And the main thing is this. When you see this here, and people sit there and they don't want to hold on to what certain things is. But when you want to look at that right there, just peculiar. Peculiar. See, people want to sit there, oh, we're peculiar people. We're peculiar people. We're this, we're that. And we get mixed up on a lot of different things here. We get mixed up on what things are. And we need to understand what is happening. We need to understand what is happening, because peculiar mean a people of God's own possession. That's why he's saying that. But people want to sit there and say, oh, we act different, we do that. No. Peculiar treasure unto me above all people. You're going to be his own possession, is what he's saying. You shall be a possession. His own possession. A possession treasure unto me above all people. So that's going to be holy people to you. And why is it holy? Because holy is separated. We'll see this and pick it up at verse 2 as what he is making sure we clearly get. And it says, for thou art a separated people, a holy people unto the Spirit of thy God, and the Spirit of God hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people. A peculiar people unto himself above all nations that are upon the earth. That's a blanket statement. That's a blanket statement, but we have to obey the voice of God based on what he did. That was the offer that was done. He did this because he heard the cry and he was keeping his word to Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. He kept his word. And he heard our cry. And he heard our cry. So we have to do something here based on what is being said. And he did this because he put his possession in you so it can be there. But some of us end up taking door number 2. And we give that up. So that's how he kept that treasure there, because he buried his treasure in you. But we have to do something. We have to obey that voice in our works. This is what he's saying. This is very clear. So if we do this, now he's telling you, which everybody mixes up on, but we found out from last week, the week before, and we coming all up to today, And if we obey the voice, that's why he sit there and says this here. And you can see that's the end of that thought. That's the end of that thought. Semicolon right. That's the end of that thought. So we found out last week where people have lied to you about Paleo Hebrew and telling you what they know what it mean in the Greek and what stuff mean, and you found out. And what he's telling you here, I promised them that promised me. Well, it makes all the sense in the world. Because if you promise and will obey his voice indeed and keep the covenant, you should be that peculiar treasure. And you promise and you keep them, you okay. And he gonna promise to keep his. This is what he's saying in a nutshell. This is what he makes sure is clear in a nutshell. He says this and he makes sure that we clearly get it, so we can't trip later. We can't trip later, because if we act like we don't get it, he's being upfront all the time. In 1 Peter chapter 2, picking it up at verse 9, he tells you. He tells you this. He says, "But ye are a chosen generation." You are chosen. You chosen. But he says some things in here we're going to tear down, and we're going to make sure we understand what it's saying. He said, "Ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, and ye should show forth in the praise of him who have called you out of darkness, into his marvelous light." Wow. This is what he's done. So the problem here is we need to find out what things are. We need to find out what things are. See, and he's saying you're a chosen generation. See, and most people always think that it's 144,000 going in. Everybody think it's 44,000 going in. And that's it. But you see, he hones in on generation. He hones in on generation. The reason why he does that is this. Every generation, he's going to pull out 144. I have teachers on that. We teach on that all the time. He's going to take out 144,000. That's why he says, even at the end in Revelation, he says it's without number, because every generation, 144,000, it's going to be poured out to him. That's why he even says in Exodus, he has love for thousands. Don't say millions. Every generation, he's taken out 144,000. But he goes on more here. He's saying you're a royal priesthood. You're a royal priesthood. But the royal is talking about kingly. Kingly. But in the priesthood, where you get the priest, and the reason this is always stuck together in a lot of places, I want to show you something. It actually tears down this way. Oh, well, it didn't want to work, but because the priest is an intercessor. But then it's saying the priesthood is letting you know his covering, being set apart, a peculiar people, God's own possession, his own possession. He has taken this out to where we can find out what's going on. So the Spirit of God, he's telling us right here, right up front, he said he has called us out of darkness, where there is no understanding whatsoever, where there is no understanding. But he said this all the time. And when you look at this as a whole, we're going to see something. We're going to see something that's going to help us all as we find out what went on and what happened and what's going on. In Revelation chapter 22, picking it up at 14, it says this. It says this, and it's pretty clear. He says, blessed are they. So knowledge is given to them that do his commandments. Remember what it just said in Exodus. Providing you obey my voice indeed and do my commandments. I promised them something that promised me to do something. I know we're starting to see this picture here. And when you do something, he's telling you right up front that they may have right to the tree of life. It's them. The ones that promised me, I promised them. And it's an addition to this, may enter in through the gates of the city. The ones that are chosen, the holy nation, his own possession of people, them that do his commandments because they were seeking his promise. This is clear as day. Being that royal priesthood, that intercessor, that peculiar people, God's own possession. But we need to know what the catch is. Because if God saying he's putting a promise out there, we need to know what the catch is. It's because it has to be, everything has a catch. Everything has something that's driven behind it. Because he's saying, just obey my voice. But how can one sit there and say, just obey my voice and be a puppet and do nothing? Jump. Okay, I'm going to jump. No. We want to know what's the driving force behind that. Why are you saying this? Lay it out. We need the Spirit of God to lay this out. If we obey your voice and keep your covenant, we need to know, and this is a viable question that we need to be able to understand. Nothing's wrong with that. Let's look at this. Because he answered the question to many of them in there. And it's a simple question. It's a simple answer that he gave us. We'll find it over here in Mark chapter 16, picking it up at verse 15. Now, this is where you have preachers screw up all kind of stupid stuff. I hear preachers talking about they'll go preach to a dog. I don't know that's dumb as day, but I done heard them on my own ears say that. But he says, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. And so many people continually tell you that's the good news. Gospel is good news. That's not what gospel is. Gospel is a message. That's all this is. This means a message. It's not no good news. Hey, just obey my voice and you're good. No, that's not the truth. That is not the truth. But we're going to find out what that is. But that's a message. Because he's given us a message. And he told us to do something. And he wants us to remember something. So for many of us, he had made us watchmen. To give you a warning. Not to give you some good news. To give you a warning of his coming. And when he's coming with that gift if you did what you promised. And that comes in the form where you're going to do that message. Sounding the trumpet. It's the same way you'll see people in movies and things. When the king or the princes, them, they started entering in, they sounding the trumpets. They doing all these things as they're getting ready to enter in. The same thing. So he made us watchmen to give warning to you. This is why every Sabbath day and other days, many times, you see us blow our trumpet to give you warning. That's why a lot of times over here, you're not getting a feel-good message. See, people want to give you a feel-good message, but a feel-good message is not telling you something of this king that's coming. That message is to give you a warning of him coming. Let's look at something. Let's look at this message in a whole, and why he did it the way he did it. We'll find this in Ezekiel, as we did last week. We're going to find this in Ezekiel chapter 33, picking it up at verse 2. Actually, I went too far right there. We're going to sit there. We're going to look at that. And he says this. He says, Son of man, which he's speaking to us, speak unto the children of thy people, saying to them, I will bring the sword upon the land. That don't sound like good news, do it? That don't sound like no good news, do it? It sound like a message. He said, say to them. You see, he's not giving you some good news. He's telling you right up front what he's talking about. To give you this message. He's going to bring a sword upon the land. If the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman. You see right here. This being right up front. Right up front, clear, straight to the point. Right up front to the point. And he says this, and he makes something that he really wants you to get to understand, because you better be watching, as he's saying. He said, if, providing when he seeth the sword come, this book is coming. It's coming. Upon the land, he bloweth the trumpet. You see this? And warn the people. And warn the people. He ain't telling you some good news. Many people is caught up on good news. Oh, well, we got the good news. No, you warn the people. But people thinking good news. Tell you something off topic. On topic, but off topic. On topic, but off topic. We're going to look at Luke. I want to show you something. Just coming to thought, but I want to show you something. It says this. So when you warn the people, as we going throughout the land, and we warn people that he's coming. He's coming. I just don't know when he's coming. I don't know. But he's coming. Elder Johnson, but when he coming? I don't know. But he's coming. I promise you he's coming. And he said some things when he was in Yahushua. You get ready to see him right here. He says this right here. He says, take nothing for your journey as a watchman as you being up there. Neither staffs, no scrip, no bread, neither money, neither 2 coats apiece. Don't you take nothing. None. You just go and you warn them that I'm coming. I'm coming with that sword. I'm coming with the sword. And he says this, and he's going to make some things really clear here. Going to make some things really clear. He says, in whatsoever house ye enter into, there abide, and thence depart. Wow. That's interesting. Because we can't take nothing, so we can't use nothing to entice you based on this word. That's why a lot of times you'll see when we talk to you about different things. See, I can't put you in heaven. I can give you the knowledge to show you how to get there. I can give you the knowledge to where you can have a clear understanding on what this contract is, what this covenant is, on how to get there. But to put you there, I can't do that. Because I got to be doing the same thing you're doing. Even though he made me a watchman, don't think that I get a pass. I don't get no pass. I promise them that promise me. And he says this. And he makes this clear. He says, and whosoever will not receive you, when you go out from that city, shake the very dust from your feet for a testimony against them. Against them. You know how deep that is? I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something to where you clearly get what this saying. Because I want to put it where the goats can get it. I like to put stuff to where you can clearly get this. And we're going to look at this in John chapter 1, picking it up at verse 11. Reason why I want you to clearly get this. So it tells you this. So when you see that over there, he says, so when you come there, when you get to someone's house and you get there and you start telling them about what is required of them. He came into his own, and his own received him not. Interesting, isn't it? Whosoever would not receive you. But as many as received him, he gave them power to become servants of God, even them that believed on his name. But you still had a problem. Because if they don't receive the message, he said you shake the very dust off your feet and for a testimony against them. He's being real clear here. And whosoever heard the message, you're giving them a warning of something, that this sword is coming. It's coming. It's going to be right behind what's happening. So this is a you problem. If I warn you, it's no longer my problem. How do I know? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show it to you. Because this would be a you problem. If I give you the warning. So if I give you the warning, now you have a you problem, not a my problem. Because he made some things here. I'm going to show you this here. We're going to look at Ezekiel. We're going to go back in verse 4 now. We're going to look at verse 4. And he says that. He says, and whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet, which we have people hearing it right now, and taketh not warning, they didn't receive him. If the sword come, oh, there go that sword again, and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. I'm good. I'm good. Now you have a you problem. You ain't got a Elder Johnson problem. You got a you problem. We have many people that was given warning of his coming on what he need to be doing and what you need to be personally doing in your life, and choose not to do it. Because you have a person problem with me, with Elder Jenkins, with Elder Fields, with Elder Smith, with Deacon Micah. Deacon Micah, right now, on this swirling stuff, you got people still commenting out of anger, thinking this man told a lie. And he's showing you everything in the Bible. He's showing you in the Bible. He even had taken the time to even show you how he got the precepts to show it to you. And he's still doing what they do to him. Trying to run this man through the coals. This is the thing that's going on. This is what's going on here. This is why we have to continue to hold on to what we hold on to. Because we got to keep moving forward. It says, because once we give you warning, once you have that warning, you can have a little snippet of it. Once you have that warning, it's on you. It's off of us. So now it's no longer a me problem, it's a you problem. So I don't even got to give no more warnings, not to you. I got to just kick the dust off my feet, what you see over there, and I keep on moving. That's why I tell you plain as day, and people really don't understand the full context when I sit there and say that channel goes up and down. Find one. If what we say don't float your boat, this channel goes up and down. I'm not here to entice you. That's why you don't see no join this. You don't see none of that on here. No donation that. No super chat this. I don't want your money. I don't need to sign up with a membership. Nothing. I'm here to deliver you a message. These other ones are here to deliver you a message. And they deliver it. They deliver this message very effectively. Effectively, they deliver it. So this is the problem that most people have. But we got to get into this. We got to dig more into that. Why? Because once you get that warning, the Bible says, the Bible, I'm going to show it to you, but I'm going to tell you what it is before we even get there. Let's look at this. I'm going to show you something. Because it's going to be on your head, not mine, because I'm not going to let it be on me. So it says this. It says, he heard the sound of the trumpet and took not the warning, not warning. His blood should be upon his head, but he that taketh the warning shall deliver his soul. Why is it saying it that way? Why is it saying it that way? Because I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to show you something. See, the problem is we have a lot of people. They'll sit there and they like to flow through different channels and float around different truths and different lies. They do these things. And you was given warning. It's like you better get out the way. See, because when he's coming with the sword, he's not going to be looking to try to separate you from different people. He's not going to be doing that. I'm going to show you what he's going to be doing. See, because you've been given warning. It's the same thing with Sodom and Gomorrah. When he sat there, he said, I'm going to get you guys out the way. I'm going to get you guys out of the way. And once I get you out the way, then I'm going to do a couple of more things. I'm going to do some things. And once these things go down, then we're going to take care of a lot more. Then we're going to take care of a lot more things. But I'm not going to, if you're going to stay mixed up and you intertwine with where these people are, I'm not going to try to section you out. Let's look at this. I'm going to show you something where a lot of people get mixed up. Where they get mixed up, but we show clarity. Because he tells you this, because he's not going to try to section this out later. We're going to see this in 1 Timothy chapter 6, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. And he's telling you right here. In chapter 3, in chapter 6, starting at verse 3, it says this: if any man teach otherwise, and consent not to wholesome words, even to our words of our Lord Yahushua, the Messiah, and to the doctrine which is according to godliness, and people sit there and say, well, they teach this doctrine, they teach that doctrine, they teach this doctrine, they teach that doctrine. And guess what? Those ones who do that is the ones that sit there and tell you this is this place and this is that place and this is that and this is this. You got to understand that, because they're going to tell you everything. This is, oh, we holiness with this, with that, with this. And they'll keep telling you how you need to be obeying them and what they do. And it's telling you right here in verse 4, it tells you some things there. It says what? He is proud, which they are, knowing nothing, but doting about questions, strife, words, whereof cometh envy, strife, railings, evil submergence. These things comes up because they are challenging the truth, and they can't show you the truth. Nowhere in the Bible. Because they're going to tell you, whenever you ask them a Bible question, they're going to give you a man answer. It goes on more than this. It says, perverse disputings, men of corrupt minds, destitute of the truth. Destitute of the truth. Supposing that God is gainliness. From such, withdraw thyself. From such, withdraw thyself. Because when he comes and he's bringing that sword, he's not going to try to be, look, oh, let me move this one out the way. Now let me do. No, he's just going to come in and bring the sword. So if you pay attention, but he that taketh the warning shall deliver his own soul. So many people are going to sit in these pen houses, these places they want to call churches. They're going to sit in there. I promise you that. And when he comes to destroy every soul that was in there, he don't have to section you out, because you being where you want to be. So you have that option. Many people are going to die on that alone. Many is going to die on that alone. This is why, I talk to some of the elders and deacons. I tell them, hey, you ain't got to keep telling people the same thing. They want to do it, just let them do it. Because they're going to continue it anyway. But when it comes to the end, he's not going to try to section you out. He's just going to do what he need to do. And people think once you're dead, you're separated. No, everybody who is tied to that doctrine going to the same place. Everybody who's tied to it. You can't sit there and say, well, I was just in there just because I like to hang out there. No, that's okay. Well, guess what? That's on you. That's a you problem. See, that ain't one of my service problems. That's a you problem. But he says this. Watch this. He says this. That's why he's talking about that you problem. But watch this, because he's very blunt about what he's saying. He says, but if the watchman see the sword come, same thing. I'm telling you it's coming. I'm telling you it's coming. And blow not the trumpet. I'm trying to let you know every which way possible. I'm trying to let you know every which way possible. This is coming. And if you say, and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, okay. I got a ton of videos trying to tell you, he's coming. He's coming. He said, and if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity. He's still going to be taken away in his sin. But you got a problem. Who? That watchman. That watchman got a problem. Because he didn't give the warning. So he says this, because that's the end of this thought here. But he says, but his blood will be required at the watchman hand. See, now it goes on that watchman. That's why I say you ain't getting me. I'm going to tell you. If you don't want to adhere to it, see, people think because you know the truth or you can go through the truth and now thinking that, well, you're supposed to make sure I have the truth. No, all I have to do is warn you. If you want to know more, I can show you. But don't think I have to sit there and keep hounding anyone to try to get them to come over to the truth. Because he says you right over there, whosoever house you enter into, abide and thence depart. Whosoever will not receive you, go thee out from the city, shake the dust off your feet. You can roll. Because they don't want the truth. But don't think that you can have it both ways. Because you say, you wouldn't show it to me. Really? That's interesting. You know how many times we get this? You know how many people tell us this? But you didn't want to take warning. You didn't want to take that warning. And then we showing it to you. But people want to sit under people who got that feel-good message. They want to sit under those type of people who got a feel-good message. And you see this coming. So you just sit under people that's talking about themselves, not giving you warning, but they want to teach you about spaceships, rumors of wars, but not a warning of God. He said, you give them warning of me. I'm coming. They want to tell you what's going on in Iraq. They want to tell you what's going on in Iran. No, he's saying, you ain't got to tell them about that. That's man stuff. You tell them I'm coming. I'm the king. I'm coming. No, we're going to tell you about a spaceship. We're going to tell you about a blood moon. We're going to tell you about everything else but what the main focus need to be of giving me warning that he's coming. See, I opened the letter and read it. Just in a parable that I'm telling you. See, I opened the letter and read it. And God gave me wisdom to understand it. Just being blunt about it. So if you go and you sit there and didn't take the warning that I showed you, and I'm showing you Bible all the time. All I ever show you is Bible. You never see concordance shows up. You don't see Septuagint. You don't see nothing else show up but Bible. That's the only thing shows up here. So we want to make sure that you clearly understand what's happening. We want to make sure you clearly understand what is happening here. So if you sit there and you see this thing is happening, and you're a watchman, and you telling them about a war, about Russia, and all these other little stupid places that you want to sit there and talk about, that's what God wants you to know. That's stupidity. God telling you, give them a warning of me. You give them a warning of me. And he goes on more. He said, because he's telling you, See, because it's saying required at the watchman's hand. And why are you saying hand? Because that hand is your power. And that's what he's holding on to. So same as I tell you, that's not happening with me. I don't know with anybody else, but I got to let you know what's going on. So it says this in verse 7. Let's pick this up a little bit more in 7. Let's pick this up a little bit deeper in 7. It says, so thou, O son of man, you servant of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. See, that's the end of the thought. Actually, I can change the color to where we can be a little bit more. So he has set thee as a watchman unto the house of Israel. So when you see people giving you understanding, talking about this country, that country, or just worldly stuff, worldly, earthly, temporal stuff, be honest, you're in the wrong place. But people gonna hold to it. I don't care what you do, they're gonna hold to it. You know, well, no, I'm getting the truth over there. Okay, that's so be it. You stay over there. But when that hammer comes, you was already given warning. I'm good. I gave you warning. You didn't receive it. I can kick the dust off my feet and I can keep on rolling. I'm good. So he says this. He says, I have set thee a watchman over the house. He says, for that reason, thou shalt hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me. He ain't sitting there warning you about China. He ain't sitting there warning you about Russia. You see, this is rampant all over the web. They talking about this prophecy. Oh, prophecy this or prophecy that. They don't even know what a prophecy is, but they want to tell you about a prophecy and this and that. And you need to be warned about Christ coming. That's the message. That's the message a lot of us miss. And see, in warn, when you look at that warning, when he said in warn, see, this is call to attention. Call one to attention and inform him you need to be doing something. And he gets into it. And it's a warning against your disobedience, being admonished and given instructions on what you need to do. Not warning you about a spaceship. Not warning you about a teaching of Russia or a teaching of China. Not the blood moons. Not warning you about building the temple. Warn you of all this stuff. You get this everywhere. They teach you all this stuff. And I'm going to tell you the craziest thing is people teach on that. And then you see a lot of that stuff don't come to pass when they saying it's going to happen in this time and that time. And it's going to be happening within the next year. You need to get out and do it. All these things. They're telling you all this stuff. And then it don't come to pass. And guess what? Your butt still sit there. You still sit there. And he just lied to you. But you sit there. Yeah, somebody talking about blood moons a couple of years ago. Oh, blood moon. Oh, these blood moon. Oh, all this stuff getting ready. All this stuff getting ready to happen. All this happening. Oh, this is happening. This is happening. This is happening. All of a sudden, nothing happened. All of a sudden, down. Let us change the subject. We're going to get on something else. And you sit there. Yeah, people talking about, yeah, you better go into the wilderness, Oh, this is going ready to go and happen. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. All of a sudden, boom. Nothing goes on. You still sit there. COVID hit out and you lied and put it on God. You lied and put it on God. Then you got people sitting there praying, talking about, oh no, Satan, get up out of here. Satan, do this, pray this. Satan, you out of here. Go ahead. COVID's over, this and that. COVID's still here, laughing at you. People sitting there talking about their healing services. Why they not healing these people with COVID? That's the best time to exemplify your and to exploit your healing powers. Best time to do it, because you see people that's really sick. But it says this. It says, when I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, thou shalt surely die, if thou doest not speak to warn the wicked from his from his ways, that wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thy hand. You see, this ain't talking about Russia, do you? You ain't got nothing to say about Russia, do it? This ain't talking about nothing about Asia. Ain't talking about anything else but about what you tell them they're wicked. And you hear me talk about this all the time. I tell you how wicked we are, or how shady we do things, how uncompromisable we was with God. He give us a thing to do. We uncompromisable with him because we want him to compromise his thing to us in the wicked ways we want to do. He said, no, it don't work that way. You're wicked. You're going to conform to my ways. And if you don't want to conform to my ways, I got something for you. So he's letting us know. See, in those iniquity, it's just telling you acts of sin. Acts of sin. Not playing with the mind of Russia. These are the things that we get into. These are the things that we constantly want to talk about. But I'm talking about rampant. You can go to other channels and you'll see where men are talking about everything about the world. They'll call themselves Hebrew Israelites, whatever they want to call themselves. You'll see they be in there by the thousands. By the thousands. Talking about world events. And then they try to inject it in the Bible and say, you see it here. And it's a lie. It's a lie. He's telling you to give them warning when I get here. I can care less what y'all doing right now. But when I get here, you better be right. Let's look at this. Watch this. Let's look at this. So people sitting there talking about what door number 1 is on what he already given you. He already gave it to us. It's written on us. So, and he's telling us to do something. And he says, nevertheless, if thou warn the wicked of his way to turn from it, and he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, in his acts of sin. But thou hast delivered thy soul. See, you see that? He's being clear. Once I done delivered this message, I can go skip down the road. I can go skip to my loo. Why? Because guess what? You're warned, I'm good. You're warned. I'm good. You choose not to take it. So don't sit there when you come before him and you sit there and say, oh no, this is the pastor that I was sitting under and he didn't warn me of this. Okay. Wasn't he destitute of the truth? You couldn't see what he was saying in the book. You couldn't see it. He was proud, knowing nothing, doubting about words and strife. You read the book. Withdraw thyself from it, but you stayed. That's not my servant problem. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. Let's look at something. I want to show you something. It's still in the book, verse 10, but I want to show you something. We're going to look at this one. It says, for that reason alone, for that particular reason alone, oh, thou son of man, speak unto the house of Israel. Seeing he keep ending the thought. Why is he doing that? You need to know why he's actually keep ending that thought. He said, thus ye speak, saying, if our forgetfulness, our transgressions, and our sins be upon us, and we pine away in them, how should we then live? And pine And I'm just going to clear for it because I'm going to make sure you understand the contract. Pine don't mean nothing but rot, or you can look at it as waste. So that's all he's saying. He said, and we rot away or we waste away. See, that's all he's saying. That's literally all he's saying. But they used pine back then. Actually, let me tell you what. Let's do it this way. Let me do this. Let's do this. Let me make sure you clear. I'm gonna make sure you clear on this. Now, maybe people who don't normally come over here, because we're gonna drop some spiritual stuff right now. And this spiritual doctrine that I'm gonna drop on you, some of you guys not gonna get. Some gonna get it, some not gonna get it. But we're gonna go to Leviticus chapter 26, verse 16. And we're gonna go over here because a lot of people don't like 16, but it says, I also will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and burning age, that thou shalt consume the eyes of thy and cause thy sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, and your enemies shall eat it. What'd that say? Just what you just talked about over here. What did he say? Just what you just read over here. What you just read. Because you can rot away in all those. And those diseases is what he's talking about. That's why people call those plagues your peace. Because he's telling you the same thing over here in Leviticus. The identical thing. Coming out of Ezekiel, but you see the same thing that's in parable format over here. I will appoint these terrors of consumption and burning age. All this is diseases. And you're going to learn of it. And your enemy's going to learn it. Like, boy, look at this. Excuse me. All this stuff will go down. But why? They don't get it. You even see where the people I'm going to read the Bible in a year. And we just got to get through Leviticus. Why? Leviticus is almost completely parabolic. But they don't get it. But this is the problem. This is what's going to rot you away. You see people have these diseases and they just rot away or waste away. It's telling you that right there. It's telling you right to your face. Right in your face, it's telling you, and we'll sit there and hold on to everything else. So this is why I say it's easier for me to warn you, and you don't want to have to take the warning because I'm good with it. I can keep moving forward because then your life is on you. Don't have nothing to do with me. I'm good. Let's look at verse 11. Watch this. Verse 11 says this. And it's actually with a question mark. It says, say unto them, as I live, saith the Spirit of God, I have no pleasure in death of the wicked. And he ended the thought on that. He's telling you right up front, I don't have no pleasure in that. You think I do when I start doing you in that. He's telling you right up front. Right up front. He's letting you, I don't have no pleasure in it. But don't think I won't do you. I don't have pleasure in it, but you will get done. See, it even made me think about even with my grandfather just now. See, we can sit there and do something, and our mom and them be done told our grandfather on us, and my dad and them be done told it, and we done got whoopings from them. And our grandfather come over, and he'll tell you, crying, he don't want to whoop us. But he gonna whoop us. Mind you, I already got 2 butt whoopings. But he gonna give you another one. And I guess that other one was just for GP. I don't know what it was for. But one thing about it is, we knew when we did something, we know not to do that no more. Cause they didn't have no shortage on whoopings. That whoopings never went on strike. So that's the thing here. He's telling you right up front, he don't have no pleasure in it, But if he have to do it, he's going to do it. Watch this. He says, but that wicked turn from his way and live. All you gotta do is turn from your way. And he says, turn ye from your evil ways, for why will ye die? I'm talking about this. This is crazy on how he's saying this. All you have to do is turn from your wicked ways. Just a history count. He's telling you, if any man teach otherwise that can send wholesome words, even unto our Lord Yahweh Shai the Messiah, and the doctrine which is according to godliness, he is proud, knowing nothing but about doubting words, questions, strife, words whereof cometh envy, strife, railing, submerge. All this stuff comes into play. But then you'll sit there and sit under fools like this, because that's all they are. The Bible tells you they're fools. But you'll sit there. And that's wicked. That's wickedness. When you sit there, because you holding on to something, because you holding over flesh more than you holding on to God. That's why that happens. That's why that happens. And he's saying, why will ye die? Why are you gonna do it and you know you're gonna die? Tell you, even take the analogy. And this is something I always never wanted to hit an animal on the road or anything. And one of the biggest things that drives me crazy, and I see people do it all the time, and you see a squirrel. Many people, they got squirrels in their neighborhoods in different areas. You see a squirrel. And the squirrel, for some reason, waits and he'll sit there and look at you. The car coming, and he'll wait till you get right, and then he'll try to dart across the street. And see all his friends laying out on the street, but they dumb beasts. That's all you can look at. And we don't have no more sense than they have. We'll sit there and go do something knowing we gonna die. And then we'll try to blame it on God. See, you can blame on us all day long right now. But when you go with God, you can sit there and God ain't gonna sit there and listen to no nonsense. That's the thing. This is what's happening here. This is the main part. Because many people thinking, well, Lord, I just didn't understand. You can say whatever you want to say with him. He ain't changing. He's not changing. And seeing that resting place is eternal. So if you want to make that mistake, you making an eternal mistake. But some people still want door number two. Because they're going to sit there and they're going to see their own righteousness in their own way. Watch. I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna show you. Let's get here, because as I'm talking, it's just making me go to the next verse anyway, because we're just saying the same thing. So let me pull this here. It says, "For that reason, thou son of man, say to the children of thy people, the righteousness of the righteous, the righteousness of the righteous." I want to make sure you see that. Shall. I want to show you that. That's the part. That's just that one word right there. The righteousness of the righteous shall not deliver him in the days of his transgression. That of the wicked he shall not fall thereby in the day that turneth from his wickedness. Neither shall the righteous be able to live for his righteousness in the day that he sinneth. Meaning what? Your righteousness is trash. It's dirt. It's dirt. It's dirt. See, many people, and you go into these churches and these people, they want to play these little games with you. They want to say, oh no, we're righteous, we're this, we're that, we're this. No, it's not. Your righteousness is not going to save you, because you think it's righteous. You got people sitting there talking about, well, I go here, I sing for the church, I do this. Your righteous, that don't mean crap. Let's look at something. Let's look at Brother Paul. Brother Paul helps us out here. Brother Paul helps us out here, but they want to tell you all kind of different stuff on Paul. But we're going to go to Paul chapter 10. We're going to pick this up at verse 3. I want to unhighlight that one. And it says this: for they, being ignorant of God's righteousness, is exactly the point in going about to establish their own righteousness, and have not submitted themselves to the righteousness of God. That's the point. Oh, you need to give this. You need to do this. You need to obey me on this. You need to do that. That's what these churches teach you. But guess what? That's why I sit there and say, when you sit under church, sit under a church. When hell comes, don't sit there and trip. Why you going to eternal hell? Don't trip. Because you have sat there and you have established your own righteousness. Your own righteousness you have established. And that's not going to, and you're going to forget God's way, and you're going to find your own way. And then when you find your own way, and when that way go to hell, all of a sudden you got a problem. Thinking it was righteous. These things is the trip. These things are always going to go through where people sit there and try to find different ways into making their righteousness as if God's righteousness. I'll show you something. Let's deal with more with this. Because you really taking door number 2 and thinking you still on door number 1. But I'm going to show you something. We're going to look at Micah chapter 3. Wait a second, I spelled that wrong. We're going to go to Micah chapter 3. And we're going to look at something. We're going to go to verse 11. And it says this. And this is clear as day. And this again shows you the point on what we're talking about right here. Because they established their own righteousness. And it says, the heads thereof, the teachers thereof, for reward. This is what they do. And the priests thereof teachers for hire. And the prophets thereof divine for money. You got preachers making money on money on money on money. And people even find ways, well, how are they supposed to survive? Okay, who told him to quit his job? Well, I got to do the Lord's work. Okay, who told him to quit his job? It's the same thing like I get on Elder Jenkins. I called him my brother Jamaican. He got more jobs than Law. But this is the problem we have. Who told that person to quit his job? Can you answer that? See, they can't even answer that. You see the same thing as when they show the thing. If you go over to Bing, and you can put in King James Bible University. And I promise you're going to find it because we did it. I did it last week. I didn't think I did it in the back. And showed them. And they put the most asked questions. And you can do it on pretty much all camps and churches. You can pretty much pull up because Bing them do researches on people. We didn't even know they did that. I just found out a week ago they did that. I didn't know they did that. And they show you the most asked questions. Or it says people ask questions, something to that effect. But as you go down, you'll see where people ask you a lot of different questions. They ask a lot of questions that they search. You know what the most question asked was on for King James Bible University? What do Elder Johnson make? How much is he paid? You don't see a donation button nowhere on nowhere thing that we do here. But that was the most asked question. But guess what? I know they didn't like the answer that they found. I know they didn't like the answer because it showed you that they don't take in no money as well as I don't take a salary of any kind. You go to all these other ones, they talk about, and then they tell you about how we teach. And you go on everybody else is checking them, and I just checked a couple of other ones. And you go check them. You checked a couple of other ones. They're talking about everything else. Hate groups, cults, everything. It wasn't nothing derogatory on us. But people was asking that one question. For money. Now, you got all these other guys doing it for money. But I don't work for them guys. I work for God. Because just because they do it, don't say I'm going to do it. But it says this, and then they lean up upon the Spirit of God and say, is not the Spirit of God among us? None evil can come upon us. Yeah. That's why it's a lot of time everybody's sitting there talking about all this craziness. This is the problem. They're doing all these things for money, and he said he's going to pay you, but we sit there and take the opportunity to where we're going to sit there and say, we're going to tell you what, I'm not making enough. I see it's really lucrative here, and guess what? I'm going to come over here, and now I'm going to quit my job, and I'm going to do this position here. That's stupidity. 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 And then we develop our own righteousness. And he made something clear about that. He made something clear about that. We're going to look at Amos chapter 5. Amos chapter 5. We're going to pick it up at verse 21. He's telling you exactly what he think about it. He's telling you exactly what he thinks. He says, I hate who Christ. I despise your feast days. I would not smell your solemn assemblies. Why? He ain't there. You developed your own righteousness. So why would he come there? You done chose door number 2, but you still want door number 1. You want to serve God and mammon. This is our problem. And he's telling you right there up front, when you have your solemn assembly, and a lot of them going to have them, some having them today and some tomorrow. He said, I ain't there. I'm not there. But I promise you one thing, you'll be there. You singing to Satan. You think you singing to God, but you ain't singing to him because he ain't there. Satan's sitting there smiling ear to ear. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offering, people don't even know what that means. And I'm not going to even show you what that means, because that's too plain. He said, I will not accept them, neither will I regard your peace offering of your fatted beasts. And then he tells you clear right here. This is so clear. It's unreal. He says, take away from me the noise of thy songs. Get that stuff away from me. Get that junk out of here. Get it away from me. I will not hear the melody of thy vows. Get that stupid stuff away from me. Why? You didn't develop your own thing. It's why you can go in most of these buildings that they want to call a church, and they warm you up with their music. That's their righteousness. They didn't develop their righteousness. And as soon as that preacher get up there, he said, boy, the Lord is showed in this house. He is in this house. Sister killed there. Boy, you just sung your heart out, sister. Sister, you, boy, the Lord has anointed you. That anointing is all over you. And boy, y'all choir, I just want to thank the choir. Boy, the Lord is showed in this house. But we going to have our tithes and offering. Dividing for money. It's automatic. It's automatic. Then develop your own righteousness. So he's saying this, and we're going to see something. It says, when I shall say, right here, telling you right here in verse 13, he says, when I shall say to the righteous that he shall surely live, if he trusts in his own righteousness and commit iniquity, commit acts of sin, all the righteousness shall not be remembered, but his iniquity hath he committed, he shall die for it. So all that stuff that you are doing in that church, you're going to die for that. He's plain. He's plain as day. I'm just taking all the complications out of it for you. That's all I'm doing. I'm just removing all the complications so you can clearly see it. So all those people sitting in there, I'm in the choir. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm under him. I'm doing it. You're going to die for it. Why? The main issue is this. They making evil good and good evil. Actually, I want to tell you what, thinking about that, I want to tell you what, let me go to show you where we like to make sure we not using my words, but I like to show you where I get my understanding from, because I like to repeat what he says. So that's why I got to stay in the book and I repeat him. And he said these things. So we see this, and we're going to look in Isaiah chapter 5, and I believe it's verse 20. Yep. It's right here. It says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. Into that thought. Well, who do it? We do. We make our own righteousness, and we make evil good and good evil. And people make it look good. Oh man, oh boy, the Lord is showing on that. No, it ain't. That's evil. You just think it's good. And that put darkness for light and light for darkness. I tell you what, I got some kids. They'll tell you exactly what darkness is in detail. That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And he's yelling this out. He's yelling this out. I'm hoping you get this. Let's go more on that thought. Let's go a little bit deeper on that thought. We might as well go deeper on the thought. We're going to go to Ecclesiasticus. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 11. We're going to look at chapter 11. And let's park over here at 29. And it says, bring not every man into thy house. Don't you bring everybody in your house. For the deceitful man have many trains. Yeah, many trains. But tell you what the trains are is battles and wars within them. That's all it's telling you. That's all it's telling you. He have many battles within him. To tell you what, he gonna give you some comparisons, which he's gonna get into. In verse 30, he tells you this. He says, like comparing a partridge taken and kept in a cage. You see this. He's comparing a partridge taken and kept in a cage. So is the heart of the proud. And like comparing as a spy, watch he for thy fall. It's showing you why you don't have every man because you got many battles within itself. I'm going to break all that down for you. Let's hit verse 31. I'm going to clear this up. It says, for he lieth in wait, exactly the point, and turneth good into evil, and the things worthy of praise lay blame upon thee. Exactly what they do. Exactly what they do. Any misconceptions, any misunderstandings, anything go on, they're going to put it on you. On top of that, they lay in wait for you to fall. Soon as something bad, look, God don't like ugly. Soon as something happened to you. See, God is paying him back. These things that goes on. They'll put everything on anybody and always think that they're the righteous ones. This is the thing. This is the understanding that people have. So we look at this and we kind of get some understanding here. Let's look at this. Verse 14. And we see this here. And it says, say again, when I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, if he turn from his sin and do that which is lawful and right. So he's telling you back in what he stated back in verse 8. That's technically all he's doing. And I'm going to show you why he's telling you that. Because he's repeating that. So he's repeating it just so you can keep that in mind. You do that what is right. And if you do what is right, you're going to restore from what you broke it. You broke it, you fix it, is what he's telling us. You broke it, you need to be the one to fix it. Let's look at this in verse 15. Because he's telling us this right up front. It says, if the wicked restore the pledge, you see, now you see the point. What's the pledge? I'm going to show it to you. So we'll know what the pledge is. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 19. And we're going to look at the pledge. The pledge is right there. Now, for that reason, if you obey my voice and keep my covenant. That was the offer. And you see down here in verse 8, it says, and all the people answered together and said all that the Lord has spoken we would do. That was the pledge. That was the pledge right there. The pledge was right there. So he's telling us, providing the wicked restore the pledge. That pledge right there. And again, that have robbed, walk in the statutes of life without committing iniquity, he shall surely live and shall not die. But you got to restore that. You have to restore that. It's not, oh no, it was him. It was, no. Get rid of that. You chose door number 2. You chose door number 2. And when you restore that pledge, it's something that you got to do. That pledge is something you got to do. I'm going to show it to you to make sure we clear on this. Because we said these things and then we want to go bad on our pledges. When you go to Romans chapter 12, he said this right here. He said, I beseech thee therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. That was your pledge. That was your pledge. We promised to do this. In verse 16, it says, none of his sins that he has committed shall be mentioned unto him. He have done that which is lawful and right, and he shall surely live. So when you do, you restore that promise, you can drop everything. But don't sit there and think you're going to do the promise for one day and now you think you're good again. See, that's Christian doctrine. That's Christian doctrine. Dumbest doctrine you can walk around in. You make sure you restore that. But you have a few people, that still want to lie about that trade-off. Want to lie about the trade-off. I'm going to show you some of this and we're going to look at it. We're going to look at it. It says right here in verse 17. We're going to look at this and we're going to see something. It says, yet the children of thy people, the way of the Lord is not equal. Are you serious? Are you serious? Yet the children of thy people say, are you serious? The way of the Lord is not equal. Trying to hustle God. Trying to hustle God. But comparing for them, their ways is not equal. Going to hustle God. Because you want deal number 2. Actually, let's do this. I'm telling we got to go to Leviticus quite a bit because, man, this is going to hustle God. His ways are not equal. All of a sudden, we telling God what's equal and what's not equal. That sound like this world, don't it? It sounds like the United States, clearly. And this here tells you, it says, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given unto you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that maketh an atonement for your soul. Blew by a lot of people. That's the trade-off. Because the blood is the life. Life is a lifestyle. And that is the contrary, and that's the one you got to trade off on. That's what you got to trade. But everybody want to live according to the flesh. Not according to the spirit. The trade-off. You see it right there. But the life of the flesh is in the blood. It's in your lifestyle. And you have to give that up to make an atonement with God. It's just like giving a child a shotgun, a 2-year-old a shotgun. You got to take it because you don't know how to act. We don't know how to act in flesh. So you need to give it back. Let's look at something. Let's look at this a little bit closer. We're going to, 1 second. I was having a spelling thought problem for a second, but 1 second. We're going to go to Colossians chapter 2, picking up at verse 14. And it's telling you this right here. Telling you right here. It says, blotting out the handwriting and ordinance that was against us, that was contrary to us, and took it out the way and nailed it to the cross. Which is that? That's the flesh. Because the life of flesh is in the blood, is in our lifestyle. But we have to give that up to where it can be contrary to God. So meaning that we have to mortify the deeds of the flesh. We have to mortify this thing. Because if not, we're going to be just all jacked up. You're just going to be all screwed up. This is what people don't like. Meaning this. I'm just going to show you this to where the ghost can get it. We're going to show you this where the ghost can get it. We're going to go to Romans chapter 8. We're going to look at verse 13 just to make sure we're clear here. And it says, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. Same thing he's talking about here, because the life of the flesh is in the blood. It's that lifestyle that he's on. So if you live after that flesh, you're going to die. He's very upfront here. It's no secret here. And now we even say, the children of the people even say, the way of the Lord is not equal. No, it's not equal. But your ways that you want to do and you want to live according to the flesh, he's not going to have it. That's what he's saying. And we trying to make him accept it. Just like trying to make him accept a bowl of vomit. So it tells you this. So the way you do this, and for it is the life that maketh an atonement for your soul. So you have to mortify that life of the flesh to be cool back with God. That's what he's telling us. So he's saying this. He says this. He says, but if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. That's all he's been saying. That's why they're not equal. But people want to do the things according to the flesh. They want to do those things. let's look at verse 18 and see what's happening here. Let's look at verse 18 and see what's going on here. And it says this it says, when the righteous turneth from his righteousness and committeth acts of sin, iniquity, he shall even die thereby. He going to tell you, it doesn't matter who you are. If one who's sitting there in righteous and he turns from the righteousness of God and he commit iniquity, he going to commit sin, he going to die by those. Why? Because he's using the law of liberty. Picking and choosing what's right and picking and choosing what's wrong. Actually, even Yahushua brother said this. I want to take you there. Let's go there. Thinking about it, let's go there. Let's go to James and let's see what James is saying. Let's go to James and see what James is saying. And get an understanding here. We're going to go to James and we're going to go to chapter 2 and verse 12. We need 12. It says, so ye speak, so speak ye, and so do. Comparing they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. They picking and choosing what they're going to hold to. Picking and choosing. So you sitting there talking about door number 1 is cool, but I can't quite see it. So door number 1 we can't see, but door number 2 I can see. Law of liberty. The law of liberty. Temporal things. And it tells you this in verse 13, and where we see this pretty clear. It says this. It says, for he shall have judgment without mercy, without love, without a promise. And he showed no love, and love rejoices against doctrines and teachings. So this is clear. So we have a problem. We have a problem. Because when you look at verse 19 over here, going right back over here to Ezekiel about this watchman, why I sit there and say, I do what I do, and I'm not going to let anyone get me tripped up on this. That's why it says that. But if the wicked turn from his wickedness and do that which is lawful and right, he should live thereby. Actually, I got too much highlighted. Sorry about that. He said he should live thereby. You're gonna live by it. So whatever the righteousness of God is, what we need to be holding on to. This is what he's been saying the entire time, because we have to obey his voice. Actually, it tells us this in Deuteronomy, and Moses made this clear for us. Deuteronomy chapter 6, and picking it up at verse 24, I believe. 24. Getting old. Okay, it tells us this right here. It says, for the Spirit of God commanded us to do all these statutes, to desire to fear the Spirit of our God, for our good always do them. Always do them. For our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. Exactly the point. All we have to do is keep our obedience to God. It tells you more here. And he tells you more here. And it says, and this shall be our righteousness. See, that's our righteousness, being obedient to God. If we observe and do these commandments before the Lord our God, as he had commanded us. But didn't they say it's unlawful? It's unequal. They were saying that. We know he said it. He said they saying it's not equal. So it's like he's saying it's grievous. So the same thing is we gonna look at something over here just to make sure we're clear. Crystal. In John chapter 1 John chapter 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. And it says this, it's clear as day. It says, this is the love of God. This is the promise of God. This is the promise of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous. So I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the promise is. So the thing is this. People want to pick and choose what is good and what is not. For example, they'll sit there and people will sit there where they want to have many wives. They'll sit there and say, well, David had many wives. Okay, is David God? So they say, well, I can't, because David did. Okay, is David God? He committed adultery. Oh, so we can commit adultery. Okay. Is David God? Is Solomon God? No. But you're going to base your life and your lifestyle based on flesh. That's stupidity. God said, you be obedient to me. If you turn from your wicked ways, then you should live. So we say this as we look at him right here where Christ said this and made sure we clearly got it. He said, yet ye say, the way of the Lord is not equal, O house of Israel. I will judge you, every one after his ways. So he's done with the point. That's why he said, hey, you just go let them know. Just go let them know, and I'm done. So when they want to stay in what they want to do, I'm going to take care of it. So why I'm saying that? Because some people are going to choose door number 2. Some people are going to take door number 2. And I'm going to show you door number 2. I want to show you this real quick. I want to show you this. Door number 2. We're going to go to Luke. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. We're going to pick it up at verse 6. And we'll sit there and see here. Let me move this. And move that. It says right here. It says, and the devil, because the devil got an offer too, said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. Dang, that's deep. Glory of the flesh. Actually, Peter said a few things on this. I want to show you this. I want to show you this. Just thinking about this, I want to show you something. Let me pull that back up. First Peter. I want to show you something. First Peter chapter 1. We're gonna look at this. The reason why I want to, because it's real particular. It says, for all flesh is compared as grass. It's compared to grass, and all the glory of man compared to the flower of grass. Meaning in full understanding this, the grass going to wither and the flower going to fade away. It's all temporal. All this is temporal. That's what I'm trying to get you to see, what Paul is saying. What Peter is saying. Peter's letting you know grass going to just wither and the flower going to fade away. In fact, let's look at this. I want to let's take it a step further. Let's take this a step further. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And we're going to pick this up at verse 50. And it tells you this where you can see this. And it says, now this I say, brethren, flesh and blood, in the life of it, no, cannot inherit the kingdom of God. Neither do corruption inherit incorruption. He's telling you this, and he's been saying this the entire time. But Satan is offering you something. Because Satan is telling you this right up front. He's telling you, and he said, all this power he will give thee. But he's telling you something particular. I'm going to show it to you because I want to show you, even though it's showing there, but I want to show you in the same place. We're going to go up a verse, but I'm just going to do it over here. Because I want to show you something. I want you to see this. We're going to go same place, Luke, that we over here, right here with. But you see, and we're over there, we're looking at 6. But I'm getting ready to show you over here. I want you to look at something else. I want you to look at something else. We're going to look at verse 5. We're going to look at verse 5. I'm going to shrink this. Let me see. Can I make it a little bit bigger and get it all? Let me see. Yeah, because I want you to see it all in its full understanding. Yeah, why is that not? There we go. There we go. That's what I want you to see, all this all together. That's why. I want you to see all that together. Because this is verse 6 over here, but this is verse 5 over here. But I wanted to show you these together for that simple fact. Meaning this. It says, the devil taketh him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, in the glory of them. Showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, in the glory of them. Because that's just in verse 6. In the glory of them. In the glory of them is according to the flesh. So we see this here. This is why this is so serious. Galatians chapter 5. And we see now the works of the flesh are made known. It's telling you. He showed him the glory of them. He showed it to him in a moment's time. Which are these? He showed him how much he can fornicate, commit adultery. In a moment's time. Pick and choose who you want. Pick and choose who you want to have sex with. Pick and choose what you want to do. Kill who you want. Hate who you want. Be double-faced, lie. Do whatever you want. In a moment's time, he showed him all that. This can be all yours. Because some people like to live in that type of environment. Chaos and crazy. Some people love that. And when you see this here, I'm going to show you something. All Christ is offering is one thing. All you got to do is go back. We're going to go in the same place. We're just going to go back to verse 5. Same place, Galatians. It says, for we through the Spirit wait for the hope of righteousness by faith. Satan is showing us we can be partying. And you see here where he gets in verse 6. It says, for salvation of the anointed one, neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision by faith, which worketh by promise. Really? Really? See, this is the problem. He showed us what's going on over here. Satan showed us in a moment time, and we can see it. Idolatry. You can worship who you want. Because why? He showed him the glory of it. Let me highlight this, and I just want to highlight that. So he showed him the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time and the glory of them. He did this. Fornications, uncleanness, witchcraft, strife, envy, and murders, and such like. God is just offering things can be hoped for. Things that you cannot see. These are things, these are two things, these are two offers that is on the table. These are there. And see, and the problem is some people, they will sit with saying, okay, God, Satan is showing me this. I can be rich. I can be super rich. I can do this. I can do that. I can see it. I can feel it. I can touch it. I can smell it. But what are you offering, God? What are you offering? See what was going on when you waiting on a promise and you waiting to see the glory of that promise, you want to see it. So we even have where other ones even ask the same question. Because we want to see it. So I'm going to show you the same thing. His main man did the same thing. In Exodus chapter 33, picking it up at verse 18. Did the identical thing. Moses asked him, he said, and he said, I beseech thee, show me thy glory. Satan showing his cards, show me yours. I see his. But I need to see yours. I need to see yours, God. Satan showed me all the kingdoms in a moment's of time, and he's opened up his cards. But you didn't show me your cards. But it's a good reason for it. See, Satan can show you things because those are temporal. The flower will wither and the grass will wither, but the flower gonna fade away. But God's glory is forever. It's eternal. You cannot see eternal things in flesh. It's impossible. Let's look at that one. He says this. Why Moses, the main man, wanted to see this. He said this. We'll jump at 20 and then we're gonna go up to 19. He said, thou canst see my face. You can't see my glory. For there shall no man see me and live. No, you can't be in flesh and be alive. It's not going to happen. He says, but he says this, I will make my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Spirit of God before thee, and will be gracious to whom I will be gracious, because everybody is not going to pay attention to what I'm saying. And I will show promises unto whom I will show promises. So he's very upfront here. He's very upfront. He's not playing the game. So we need to see what's going on here, because he's offering eternal life, not temporal life. It says this clear when you look in John. It tells you a few things here. In John chapter 16, in John 16, it says this. In John 16, we look at verse 2. In verse 2, it says this. It says, they should put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God's service. That's deep. Because it's forever. So some people can't see it. So people are going to kill you. They don't want to deal with you. You no longer is a priority or anything in their life. This is clear. See, when one cannot see forever, because you can't see forever because it's forever. You can't see that. See, it's just the same way you sit there and you see what he talks about when he tells you the same as there be no more sea, which is temporal, and as with no more rain, no more water. It's never said. But one thing is never said, you never hear where he's talking about the breath. No more. You don't hear nothing saying no more air. Air is eternal. Can't see it, touch it, feel it, smell it. It'll carry many different scents, but you can't smell air. It'll carry sense of things, but you can't smell air. But many won't behind still what's behind door number 2. Because they can see it, feel it, touch it, smell it. And with that, he's only want one thing. If you want that right there behind door number 2, you only need to do one thing. He says that right there in verse 7. He says this right over here in verse 7. He said, providing thou therefore, for that reason, if I give you all this stuff, for that reason will thou worship me, all shall be thine. I give you all of it. I give you all of it. I'm going to provide you with everything you need. With everything you need, but that's all you have to do. You can see it. I showed it to you. He's offering you something you can't see. So he's telling you something that we see here when we even look in Romans. And Paul actually masterfully tore that down for you. Masterfully tore this down. In Romans chapter 8, picking it up at verse 25. He said this. And this is the problem. He said, but if we hope for that we see not, if we hope for that we see not, then we with patience wait for it. Which he's telling you right up front. He's telling you right up front. Because it's telling you even right there, it says, because we're saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. These are things not done. So we have to have the hope. So we have to wait. And he tells you this more in Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 11. Making sure this is clear here. Hebrews chapter 11 tells us right here. It says, now faith is a substance. It's a substance. So we want to understand a few things as we go through here. And I want to make sure that we're clear here. And you can put these down in your Bibles, because people will tell you all kind of different lines. Say, oh, it's going to mean this later. It's going to mean, no. That's the biggest lie in the world. The biggest lie in the world. But the main thing is this, substance. Now faith. See, when you can see it, you already see the substance of that. If they saying, I'm going to give you this car, if you want this car, boy, I've been hoping won't want this car. You have faith in you. He said, you do this, I'm going to give you the car. You can see it, touch it, feel it, smell it. So why are you hoping for it? You can see it. But with faith, you cannot see it. Touch it, feel it, smell it. These are things hoped for. The evidence of things not seen. But what is it? It's breath. It's by extension breath. Something with none. The very assurance of what is eternal. And eternal is unseen. That's all eternal ever means. Eternal means unseen. You cannot see eternal things because you're in flesh. But if you see it, it's not eternal. Guess what you can see? You can see water, fire, all the time. But you can't see wind. You can't see air. You can't see breath. People say, well, when I blow out, when it's cold, I blow this fog out. No, you can see what's carrying that based on the cold. But you don't see the air. You don't see the air. The evidence of things not seen, that's the very thing that hoped for. But same as Satan did. Satan showed you his glory of the world. So it's based on what you're going to do. It's based on what you see. So it goes back to this offer as we close up. As we close up. He said this, and he was very upfront about what he did. And he tells you this in Exodus chapter 19, picking up at verse 4. He's telling you right up front. He says, ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptian, and how I bare you on eagle's wing and brought you unto myself. We've seen this. We've seen this. We was brought out of darkness into the light. But he's saying something that's really clear that we need to understand. And if you don't take it, he's going to do some things. And these things you're going to see here. We're going to find that in 1 Kings. 1 Kings is clear. In chapter 22, and most people don't believe that God, he's, as he said from the beginning, he don't like doing these things, but he has to do what he has to do. We're going to park over here at verse 20. And he said this, and it was penned by one of his prophets. It said this, and the Spirit of God said, who shall persuade Ahab? Who's going to deceive him? Who's going to deceive this man? But he needed him to do something, that he may go up and fall at Ramah Gilead. He's asking this. And we have a couple of problems here, because most people don't know what Ahab means, but most people don't know what Ramah Gilead is. And most people you'll see where you even see a guy out here. He's in California, but he has a church called City of Refuge. That's what Ramah Gilead actually talks about. That's the City of Refuge. But most people don't know, even with the City of Refuge, how it actually functions, how it works, and what it actually means. That's the problem within itself. That's the problem. And those City of Refuge was places where people that might kill somebody unintentionally might have a place they can go. But we're going to see this. And the City of Refuge is not what you think. And we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. We're going to pick it up at verse 41. And we got to look at it always in the law. We're going to go right there. It says this here. You see, it's the end of the thought. It says, then Moses served 3 cities on this side of Jordan towards the sun rising. 3 cities. And you'll see what he's talking about. And the name of the cities is this, and he's going to get into it. He says, that the slayer might flee thither, which should kill his neighbor, you see right there, unawares. Unawares. And hated him not in times past. He had no qualms with him. So, but you have many preachers do this. They don't have no qualms with you, but they're killing you. They're killing you, unawares. And hated him not in the times past, that fleeing unto these cities he might live. But you have people who name these places those cities. That's the problem. Because you're going to see what some of these places are. Bezire. That's a place which is paleo for place of refuge. Place of refuge. That's interesting, isn't it? But he named 3 places. And then it's in the wilderness. Understand what he's telling you. This in the wilderness. And in the plain country of Reubenites, you have Ramah and Gilead. Isn't that weird? That should tell you a lot. People in the place where they kill each other unawares. Saying, oops, I'm sorry I killed you. But now they're going to put up a building and call it that. They put up a building and call it that. You have this here, and you have another one, and this is of the Gunites, and then you have Golan and Bashan. And this right here is known as the circuit. Is known as the circuit. And what happens here is this. As the spirits talked about what they can do, there came forth a spirit and stood before the Spirit of God and said, I will deceive him. He's going to go to those places. That's why he wants you there. Now you see the point. He wants you at the city of refuge. He wants you there because he wants you to fall. He wants to kill you there. That's the problem that most people miss. He wants you in that place. He wants you in the city of refuge. He wants you in the bazaar. He wants you in these places. So when you come there and people talking about this church is the wash tub of the Lord, he wants you there. So when he come there, he don't make a mistake. He can take you out. That's the purpose of the church. So the churches on every street corner, that's the purpose. He wants you, he personally wants you there. Because when he come in there, he don't have to look around and see who need to come out. That's why one to be taken, one to be left. The ones that's left behind are more blessed. That's why he does that. He wants you in that place. So when he comes, and no one know when he's coming, but when he comes, he can personally take you out. In these places where they done call catchphrases now, Potter's House, City of Refuge, Tabernacles of God, God Holiness churches. He wants you there. He wants you in these particular places. So when he comes, he don't have to think about nothing. Just take you out. He does that for that reason, because he said that. He said, and I will persuade him. I will persuade him. And the Spirit of God said this. The Spirit of God said unto him, wherewith? He said, I will go forth and be a lion spirit in all the mouth of his prophets. And Christ said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Go in those places. Go in city refuge. Go into the Potter's House. Go into these churches. And you do that. You'll persuade them. You're going to get them there. So once you got them all here in this pen tied up, now I can come in there and take them out. Same thing like taking roaches. When you sit out there, you put a trap. They have them outside. You see them. If you ever go to these stores, they got them traps. So all these animals, all these bugs can go in that one trap. Once you got them, they take it, they throw it away because they got you. That's what Christ said. That's what he's saying. Saying the same thing. That's what I said. So once I warn you of it, I'm good. I can roll. Because he said this, and we're going to see that who I work for will. He says, for that reason, remember the Spirit of God hath put a lion spirit in the mouth of all these prophets, and the Spirit of God has spoken evil concerning thee. He's doing this. He is the one doing this. So you had a choice. You had a choice. And once you take that choice and you sit there and you want to sit in church, you can say whatever you want to say, because many people going to lose their wives, husbands, children, friends, based on this. But you got to remember, God always said one thing. You was clearly warned by his watchmen. You was clearly warned. You chose not to do it. Because he gave you the choice. He had to put this there. Actually, let me show you something just so you won't forget. He had to clearly put this there in front of you. This had to be there. Because if not, it wouldn't have been fair. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 2. We're going to pick it up at verse 9. It had to be there. Out of the ground, the Spirit of thy God, to grow every tree that is pleasant in thy sight and good for food. The tree of life also was in the midst of the garden. The tree of life. But you had to have a choice, because Satan want to offer what he want to offer. In the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's in the garden. So the choice has to be made. The choice has to be made. And the one you choose is up to you. So we have this problem that many people going to truly believe that they are good, many people are going to believe that they are okay. Many people are going to believe that they can continue to do whatever they want to do. And the only thing that we are commissioned to do is to give warning. Nothing more, nothing less. And outside of that, many people is going to be taken away on this alone. So when that deal is done, some going to take the deal because they want things, they want the now. They want that flesh. They want what they can get according to the flesh. They want that right now. People going to take that. And they're not going to sit there and they're not going to endure those things to the end for the hope and the promise that is made to them. So I hope that you know next time, in this future, when this comes about, you know what you need to be choosing. And before I close out, I just want to make sure again that anyone that wanted to be part of the Proverbs, you still sign up, but then the same thing that we had a Passover. Many people can sign up for the Passover, but I'm going to close it after today because we are already well over the amount that we want in there. So we're well over that. So you'll see where you can sign up for that. You can even see on the commercials over there. You can see you can sign up right there. But after today, it will be closed up, and after that, we will not be taking any more. So if we don't get it after today and we see an email or anything come time-stamped on tomorrow, it will not be accepted. But with that, I hope that each and every person has gotten some information, some understanding, knowing it's a difference between the two. It is a difference with that deal. It is a difference that we need to take on. It's something that we need to make sure that we have it. So also with that, as soon as immediately stopping here, I want to go, I want to meet with my elders and deacons in the teams area, in the deacons and elders room in there. I want to meet in there real quick for about a 10-minute meeting, that I want to meet with them on before I take a break and get ready for the Proverbs class. So with that, I wish that each and every person was edified. So until next time, tomorrow we'll be doing the Romans class, as well as Monday we'll be doing with our kids. So until then, I say shalom.